What's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. So in the second part of this project video, we're actually going to build our painting. Now I want to actually show you an example of what this painting is going to look like by the end of this video, because in the previous video what we did is that we grabbed all the colors that we need, right, for this painting. So we have this list that has RGB colors and that we need for this painting. So let me actually show you what this is actually going to look like. So when you run this is going to look like something like this. I see it's really interesting. It looks pretty cool, and it's cool that we can do it in Python. So but yeah, so that's basically the end result, and we're going to achieve it in this video. All right, so before we start, if you think about it, let me just run this one more time for you to see. If you see, first of all, we have some randomness here, so we need to grab a random module, right? So we need to add the random package so we can actually start generating random things. And also this is where we add the turtle package as well. So let's go ahead and actually import that stuff. So I'm just going to say import random. All right, so and also we're going to import turtle as turtle package. All right, so turtle, I'm just going to call it turtle module. All right, so we got that. Perfect. So now let's go ahead and actually build this. So the first thing we want to do, because we're using RGB colors, we want to turn the color mode to RBG. If you remember, we had this color mode, which basically, again, when we actually, if you want to use RBG colors, we need to set it to 255 like this, right? So that's very, very important. And that's where we actually have to call the module itself. So I'm just going to say turtle module, okay? And we're going to say color mode, and we're going to put this for 255. So that way, again, we have, we can use RBG colors for this, all right? And I'm going to create an object. I'm just going to call it Tim, because that's like one of the most commonly used, names for this, like turtle module, right? So Tim turtle module. All right. So yeah, so we're just going to call it turtle. So again, let's just go ahead and do that. Sorry, my bad. Actually, I messed up my, there you go. So that's basically our object. That's what we're going to be using around. All right. So we got our object for this. Now let's go ahead and actually do one thing. I want this to be running fast. All right. So let's just change the speed. So if you remember, again, we've used this speed module before. So, the speed, again, you can like use fastest. I'm just going to go fastest. So again, if you remember, I'm going off the documentation here. If we check for speed, there you go. So we have a lot of different values, fastest, fast, normal, slow. I'm just going to go fastest because it's just like, it's going to make our, like, we don't have to wait too long, because eventually we're going to be drawing a lot of like circles on the, screen. So yeah. Anyway, so with that being said, we want to think about something. All right, let's just run this for now. Again, we're not getting anything right now. We're just like actually not getting anything. So let's actually do one thing. Make sure that we actually don't end up losing the white screen the moment the program ends. So I'm just going to say screen equals turtle module, and we're going to call the screen class. All right, so I'm just going to say screen dot exit on click. So that way, again this way it's not going to close. There you go. So when we run this, it's not going to close automatically. But anyway, so that's that. So we're going to code right here in between these two. All right, so let's think about how we can achieve this. The first thing we need to do is we need to use the setting, because if you remember the thing that the example that I showed you, it doesn't start from the beginning, because when you actually run the turtle module, when you run it, it actually starts from the beginning. So we need to actually move this down to the bottom. All right, and in order to do this, you need to just set heading and move it. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just gonna set, and this is what the module that we're going to be using, set heading. All right, so there you go. So we got this module. Again, we've used this before, and you can just like move it, essentially just point it to a different direction, the angle of it, right? So that's pretty cool. That's pretty handy. So I'm just going to say Tim set heading. All right. And now the angle of it is actually another thing. So if you think about it, the angle needs to be, you know, down left. So it needs to be southwest basically. So if you think about it, that is like kind of between 270 and I think 90 or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, 270 and 180. My bad. Yeah, so 270 and 180 are like between those two. So we're just gonna go to 225. So again, if I run this right now, take a look at what's going to happen. So we're actually being pointing down like this way. See? So now we actually got to move this thing here. All right. So let's actually move it. So that, again, that's very simple. We're Tim forward, and we're just gonna move it, say 300. All right, let's just move it for 300, and let's actually run this one more time. And there you go. So we just moved it for 300, and this is where we can actually start drawing. All right. So now we moved it for 300, and let's actually make sure we set the heading again correctly. So I'm just going to change it to 0. Tim set heading, and we're going to change it to 0. So that way we actually are pointing the right direction again. So there you go. So we moved down from the middle of the screen to here, and now we're just pointing. Now let's actually go ahead and start drawing. All right. So one of the things I want to do is I want to have 100 dots. All right. You can have more if you want, but I just want to start with 100. You know, we can change this later on, but like, so, and it's better because like, it's like the reason I want to have 100 dots is that if you think about like, you know, a 10 by 10 square in a sense, you know, where you have all these dots, it's better. It's more cleaner that way, right? So you got 10 rows of 10s, 10 basically. So that's why it's just easier to do it. So I'm just going to have a variable called number of dots. All right. And we're going to set it to 100. So again, a very simple variable. So that's that. The next step is actually we need to create a for loop. Now the reason I want to create a for loop is that I want to create a for loop that is going to go through this thing 100 times, basically go through the task 100 times and draws a circle. All right. So let's actually go ahead and think about how can we do that. So there is a, you know, I think circle, yeah, so there's a thing called circle that you can actually draw a circle, or actually a better way is actually the dot module, all right? So the dot basically allows you to create like a kind of a circle-ish, because the circle is like just gonna draw a circle, which is not very ideal. But the dot itself is just going to draw a dot. And what you can do is you can actually, you know, you can actually just have a size as well for the dot. So let's actually go ahead and draw this here. So I'm just going to say Tim dot, and let's make it 20, for example. All right, let's see if this does it. There you go. So you see, we draw a dot. Now we got to do 100 more. All right. Now, obviously, if you want to repeat this, we want to make sure you use a for loop because we don't want to draw 100 dots, right? So, so here's what I want to do. I want to make this more interesting. Obviously, we need to add the color and everything. So let's go ahead and say for dot count. So we're going to actually do the dot count. It's just, you know, that's the thing I want to use. Range, and we're going to use 1 to number of dots. All right. So that's what we're going to do. Number of dots, and we're going to say, let's just indent this correctly. Tim dot, again, this is 20, right? The size of that. And then we're going to actually choose a random color as well. All right. So I'm just going to say random choice. All right. And then we're going to pick a random color, RGB colors. There you go. So just like that, we picked a random color. And let's actually move it 50 forward. Now, the reason I want to do this is take a look at this. If I run this right now, what is going to happen is that it's not going to move, right? It's just like changing the dot 100 times right on the spot. See? So that's the problem. So we want to make sure that obviously, you know, we don't do this. We do Tim forward 50. So great. So if I run this right now, I think we're going to run this 100 times and it's not going to stop. There you go. See? So that's a problem. So that's a good step, obviously, but we're not done by any chance. Like we're nowhere near done. So what we need to do is we need to have a thing inside this for loop where if we reach a certain number, we're going to break it and have it, for example, let me actually just pull this one more time. And I wanted to, for example, when we reach 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I wanted to turn around and go back here and start drawing again, right? So if we can do this, this is going to draw the 100 in like on the screen instead of going off screen, right? So the way we can do this is we can say if dot count, which is again this, reach modulo 10. Again, the reason I say modulo 10 equals 0, let's think about why this works. So again, we say if this hits like any number that is divisible by 10 and it's going to end up with a 0, that means that we reach the full row, right? So that's what we're saying, because we want to have rows of 10, right? So we say if you reach that number, here's what you want to do. You want to say Tim set heading, and we want to turn 90 degrees, right? And then we can say Tim forward 50, so we can say move 50, right? So let's see actually how this looks so far. And there you go. So now it's going all the way up. So we want to make sure it turns all the way back here, all right? So let's just close this real quick. There you go. So now we say, okay, Tim forward, we move that 50. Now we want to go all the way, like turn around 180 degrees, right? So I'm just going to say Tim set heading, and we're going to say 180, all right? So now, and then we say move 500, because again, now we turned, right? If I actually run this again and see what happens is that we turned, but now it's going all the way. It's going like, again, it's going like just waiting for 10 and then just going up again, going back. So that's obviously not ideal, right? So now what we want to say after turning, we say move forward, Tim forward 50 or 500. So that way it's going to go all the way back again. And then we're going to say Tim set heading again. That way it's just like points again to the left. So take a look what happens again. So there you go. So now we have this thing that goes, back, back, and back. Take a look. So what is happening is that now we go all the way here, and then we go back here. We turn around again. This is the 90-degree turn that we just did, right? And then we go back. We go forward 50, all right? And then we set the heading for 180, and then we go forward 500, and then set the heading again. Just like that, we actually turn the Tim. So just like that, we actually are almost done. See, guys? And again, if you feel like you're a little bit confused, you can actually take a look at the code. Again, it's really not that complicated. What is happening is that again, when we reach tens, each row of 10 based on the modulo that we have here, we're going to set the heading to 90. So we're going to basically point it 90 degrees, right? Up. And then we're going to go up 50, right? And then we're going to turn back. Again, we're going to look left again. And we're going to go all the way back. And then we're going to say, okay, now that you're all the way back, just look to the right again. And then it's going to draw more dots. Just like that. So again, it's really, really interesting, the stuff you can do with this. But anyway, so that is pretty much it. So if you actually take a look, we're pretty much done. So the last few things that I have in mind, which, is, one of the things, obviously, we want to get rid of the lines, right? So let's actually get rid of the lines. And one way actually to do that is to just have it go pen up. So there is this, thing here, there's module called pen up. There you go. So there is a way that you can actually just have complete pen up, so it doesn't draw any lines actually. So that is one way to actually go about this. So I'm just going to say Tim pen up. There you go. So just like that, we're not going to draw any lines. So that's a good start. There you go. Right? All right. So that's that. So now the last thing I want to do is I want to get rid of this pointer. All right. And also one more thing I just noticed. Okay, let's get rid of the, let's actually fix this bug. So if you actually take a look, we don't draw the last one. See? And the reason for this is that if you actually go here. There you go. So if you actually go to for loop, what is actually happening is that when you actually go through a range, we're basically going through the first number to one below the last one, right? So if you say the range between 1 to 100, for example, because we have 100 dots here, it's basically going to be 1 to 99. That's why the last, the last circle doesn't draw. So to fix this, we can just add 1, just like that, and this should fix it. Let's actually run this again and take a look at it. There you go. Yeah, I think it's going to fix that. Perfect. Yeah. So just like that, we fix that problem. The last thing is you want to get rid of this, pointer here, or what they call turtle. And the way to do this is actually if you go back to documentation, I think there's an invisible. Yeah. So there you go. So there's this function called show turtle, which you can actually show or hide it, make it invisible, and all that. Hide turtle, that's the one we want to use. All right, so I'm just going to go back here, right below, like here, pen up. We're just going to say, Tim hide turtle. And we're just basically that. So that's pretty much it. So that should fix it and give us the final code. There you go. So now we're not seeing anything else, just trying to do really nice circles. So guys, that is pretty much it for this practice. I hope it made sense, and let me know if you have any questions. Again, this is like one of those things that was a lot more complicated, but it was really fun. Like, it's really nice figuring these things out with these different, packages. And so what we did here is that we extracted colors from an image and we put them inside a tuple, a list of tuples, right? Using this. And then we took that and draw random circles, in rows of 10, in 10 rows of 10s, basically using the turtle graphics package. So that's pretty much it. I hope this made sense. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have the final code for you in the resource section, so you can actually, download it for yourself and take a look at it. Let me know if you have any questions about this, guys. If not, I'll see you in the next lesson.